I can't run away from that fact that there's big problem of touching this racism. And what can we do to make it a realistic to address it is just my major concern at this stage. So it's not just talking about it, but something realistically that we can do to address this. Otherwise, I don't know where we go from here. So I think I will stop here.
Thank you very much. There was something there that you said about the Black Friday. Now, I don't know if that is racism, but I've never looked at it as racism until now that you're saying, why is black as the word black associated with something cheap? Or I don't know the history where it came up with the idea of calling it Black Friday, or because I think that is used for marketing or something. Yeah.
No,
so
I can tell you a little bit about it if you want.
Yeah. If you want to enlighten us a little bit about it, because I don't know about others, but I've never seen that as racism. I just thought it was a marketing. Yeah. So give us a little bit insight into that.
Okay. During the slavery, the slave trade or the slavery period, they used to sell slaves to other people who want to buy. So every Friday, they sell them at a very cheap price. So that is how Black Friday is associated with business. So anytime they want to reduce price, it is that day that people can buy it is very cheap. So that is what you can Google it. It's there. It's associated with slave trade.
Look, this is a platform for hustling, and we're putting things out there.
Yeah.
There's people live now, watching us and commenting. I put one comment out there for you guys to see on the screen. And you guys can share these as well. Share it with all your Facebook friends and network. Get them to come into this conversation. They can join us live online. Because when we put something out there, we really want it to be an accurate information. I was saying from the beginning, if you want to share your life experience, fine. If you're going to share something else, it has to be something that is, you can stand by that. Yes, I know this happened. So that was a surprise even to myself, because I didn't know the history behind this Black Friday, I don't know the history behind it. For me as an individual, I've always stay away from using the word black, because I don't see myself as black. My complexion might be black or dark or brown or green. I don't know. Yeah, I always see myself first. The first thing I see myself first as, I'm a Yoruba woman, because that is the first thing that I get to know from my parents. I know I'm a Nigerian, and I know I'm from the continent of Africa, and now I'm African Irish, so that is the way I define myself. But firstly, I'm Susanna. I'm a Yoruba girl. My parents are Yoruba. We're from the Yoruba kingdom. We marched together with this so-called Nigeria that I don't want to say anything. I don't want to be. I think I'm more of a Oduduwa now than Nigeria.
Can I put into this something very briefly?
Yeah, come in before. Because I know Saheedat wants to say something. So you come in straight. Come in.
Yeah, just very briefly, I just want to say that I really appreciate what you said there, and I think you really highlight something that is very interesting about us human beings. We exist as we do, but there are things about us that are very unique. So, for example, if you compare me, a Nigerian descendant who is black and Irish, to let's say someone who's ethnically Irish, who's white and Irish, we're both human beings, but one thing that we don't share is the same skin color. And practically speaking, that is a very small biological difference. The fact that I have more melanin in my skin and he has less, or he or she has less in their skin. But I think the fact that throughout history, and this is probably from a youthful, more juvenile perspective, possibly, or naive perspective, but throughout history, the fact that we as human beings ascribe so much importance to the amount of melanin one has or the amount of melanin one does not have, I think it's something that is quite backwards and regressive. We need to get away from those ways of thinking. And if you look throughout the world, one of the things that conceives a lot of wars, religious difference, tribal difference, ethnic difference, racial difference. So all of these differences are things that we've placed too much importance on, and that has breed just wars and division and things that have been very harmful to us as a peoples. So I think what we need to try and do is take away as much of this importance as possible from these things that divide us, so we can come together and not only see racism as an issue that affects only Black people, but see racism as a human issue that everyone has a role to play in fighting.
In making it right. You're right. Yeah. That it's not just about us being ethnicity. It's not about being minority. It's not about being Black or Caribbean or African or whatever. That it is a human issue that the whole, we need to look into and collectively find a solution to it. Because it could affect us in different way. I'll bring in Saheedat in to make a bit of
own
contribution.
experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've lived in Nigeria and I'm living in Ireland right now. So I'll share my own experience in the two countries, both in Nigeria and in Ireland. In Nigeria, when I've experienced racism is, let's say there was one instance I went to the bank and we're on a queue. If you know Nigerian bank, like First Bank, you know how they can be that kind of queue. So there was a queue, and imagine like a white man now coming in. Let me tell you something, they'll ignore everyone on the queue because we are Black, and they will attend to the white person. How fair is that? How unfair is that? Then you see us start murmuring, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? If you go to the queue, then they'll give us one story that it doesn't make sense, that, oh, he called them, he did this, oh, it was meant to be, yeah, one thing. Then sometimes I even look at them and be like, even the person in front of me, talk like this person is coming to your front, talk like, is it because he's white, you just allow him? If I come to your front now, you push me away. So that is one experience. And as you know, sometimes racism too is not something, it can be just a mild form of racism. Now, the mild form I've experienced in Ireland, but I've only been here 1 year and some months, so I can only say the mild form is for my classmates, one of my classmates. So I was in the library, so I was like, oh, hello, I was about going. Then she asked me something. She said, why are you always happy and smiling? They're always smiling, like which drugs do I take? Like maybe I smoke. I was so shocked, like, like which I God, which drug? I couldn't really understand that. I didn't understand she meant like, the old smoking or the old weed. I was like, no, I'm genuinely happy because I'm happy. Like I'm happy at my life. Like, why would I need to take a drug to be always happy? She said she's always smiling. So like, is there something I take? Then when I went back to the hostel, I was like, hey, they think I'm taking drugs. So if you look at that, if you really think about it, you would see that they already assume, like, because we're Black, like we usually take drugs because they associate like Blacks with drugs. I don't know why.
I don't know why. Sorry, I don't know why anybody will associate drug with Black. We're not,
I don't know why.
I really don't know why, because everybody takes drug. It's not a white thing or it's not a Black thing. But when they want to be, I think when they want to be like, is it to say when they want to be quote and unquote a bit of racism, like, and then they make it an issue as if it is about you being Black. As if you don't have the right, you don't have the privilege to even take drug or to even, I think it's just a way. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all and foremost, I love your vibrancy and your positivity. I think it's amazing. Speaking to something that we said there, I'll first acknowledge what you said occurred in Nigeria, and then I'll acknowledge what was said about drugs, because I think my answer to both are quite interconnected. I think a lot of the realities that we as Black people face today have historical roots. So in Nigeria, for example, or in Africa more broadly, the influence of colonialism definitely instilled a sense of racism within the continent, so that many saw Black as inferior and white as superior, even on the continent of Africa, a continent where predominantly Black people reside. And this is partly, again, due to the colonial influence that came from the Western world that impacted Africa. So these kind of things may trickle into the way that we think currently about black and white, and this may influence such occurrences in Nigeria, which may see us as black people, even on the continent of Africa, prescribe certain privileges to white people that we wouldn't do black people. As for the association between blackness and drugs, or malfeasance, or malpractice generally, I think that concept first originated in America, as far as I know. There's something called the War on Drugs, which occurred in America, which disproportionately affected the African American community, because poverty is a problem that the African American community has unfortunately had to deal with as a result of a history of systemic racism. Drugs and things of that nature were seeped into that community, and they've had to deal with them. So when people take that image of the African American who is poor, who is on drugs, and they try to export it to different places across the world and use it to describe African Americans generally, because that does not represent the whole community, obviously, but also black people across the world, I think it's something that is quite regressive. And these stereotypical images of black people, it's not just drugs, it's gangs, it's criminality, it's thieves. All of these negative images they try to pin to blackness are things that we as black people need to challenge.
You know, you are totally so right. So right, because and now again I can really understand what John is saying with regards to Black Friday, in terms of why is it that anything negative or bad or evil or different, it's always associated with blackness. And you know, yeah, I could, you know, I was just looking like, yeah, I just can get I can just understand what that means. And I'm like, you know, sometimes you see this thing, you feel like just grabbing these people and like, no, like black is a good thing.
The funny thing is that if you remove
black.
this, it's the same. If you remove this skin color, we have the same like bones, we have the same flesh, like
everything else.
Why are you discriminating, guys?
Now,
same.
Thank you so much, guys, because I'm watching the time, really watching the time.
Oh yeah, it's already 3.
Yeah, thank you, Saheedat. I'm watching the time, and I really want us to touch on something. When I started, I spoke about this new law that we have now in Ireland with regards to restriction, as in when you come into the country, you have to. What is it, guys? What do you have to do when you come into the country?
You have to isolate in the hotel.
You have to isolate yourself in the hotel and say.
Yes.
And I went to look at all the names of the 33 countries there, and I put it in the chat box there. So that I think I put it in the chat box, and I looked through it. There's only one European country that is there, which is Australia. I didn't see other countries like Spain, Italy, UK. I was like, where's all these countries that people were dying like woo? And they were saying that what is happening to Africa? Why is African people not having this COVID? Because that was the initial story when it all started. They were all like, oh, why Africans are not having it? Oh, people are going to die on the street of Africa, Nigeria. They really wanted us to have it. Like, you must have this. And then later on, the next thing that happened was that they now say, oh, it's affecting more African people, black people more than any other person. Oh, they are the most vulnerable people. They're going to die. Like, it's like, I was going crazy. Because when it wasn't affecting us, they were complaining. And then they couldn't get away with that. Then they come up with this idea of like, oh, it's only black people that is affecting. And then some of us so buy into this narrative, and we're going like, oh, African black people are going to be dying for this easily. Oh, they've forgotten so I was just like, when I saw that, I was like, I look at all those countries, and these records are out there, which we can check it. Nearly all these countries have a very small numbers of people that even tested positive. We had talk less of even people that had it. Now, South Africa was there. I know South Africa was one of the biggest places that had
South Africa
numbers. Yeah, but even with the number they have in South Africa, you can't compare to what happened in Italy, Spain, Germany, all those places. Talk less of UK, now going to America. None of them is there. So somebody was saying to me that it could be because if you're traveling to those countries, you won't go straight. I said, if that is the case, so you will drop in one of those European countries. So are they saying you cashed it when you get to those European country, and then because of that, so why is the European country not on the list as well? So guys, what do you guys think? Because this is my own thoughts. I don't know what you guys are thinking. We go first to John, because we've been talking now. John is settled, just to get what John is gonna say.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm very sorry again for being on
Oh no,
the
don't
road
worry.
while. Yeah. So honestly speaking, I'm very happy to be part of this conversation, and we really have to be honest in discussing these sensitive issues, because you see, I just went through the chat and I saw the names of countries that are there. How can you uh, decide to fight somebody you think is equal to the task? So when somebody is equal to the task, you rather give that person his due respect or regard. So when somebody, you are above somebody, you say, what can that person do after all? You know. So this like I'm saying, I'm not as outrightly saying that there's no racism. There is, but it has gone beyond just the color of the skin. Be like what my sister said there. Sorry, I didn't pick your name. That when you take the
It's
skin
Saheedat,
out,
yeah.
everybody have outside that. Thank you. So when you take the skin out of our body, what can you say? Westerner out of the body. What is left is the same. The physiological and the anatomy, they are all the same. But because of that aspect of that superiority over the other, that is driving the world crazy, and they continue to promote, propagate all those kind of information, even generation upon generation begin to see it that it is so. There's one video that I come across on Facebook, and they were two young boys, maybe at the age of maybe between 6 and 8. They were very young, and one is African and the other is European, and they were friends. And the I don't know who was asking the question, whether the dad to one of them. He said, "What can you say among yourself?" He said, "Nothing." He said, "What are you?" He said, "We are friends." As I have the video on my Facebook page, and these are children, one African and one European, and they could do say nothing. But by the time they continue to grow up, when they continue to see those information that are being passed across to them, they begin to see the variation. They begin to see the difference. Like my children that I have here, if I say to them, I will take you guys to Africa, I say, no, 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 no. Then I ask them why. They said, oh, Africa is poor. How did they know that Africa is poor? Have they been to Africa? No. They see what they see on TV. And so this is the kind of ideas that is being carried all from generation to generation, and the children begin to see themselves. Okay, I'm better than you. I'm this. So now looking at the question put across, the names of countries that are at high risk, and let's look at Africa in total. How many countries really suffered more in terms of the COVID-19? Is more or less South Africa. But when you look at Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa is more or less on an edge over other countries, basically because they have some minority white there. So how can you now begin to deal with your fellow color, even though they are minority in that country? So let's think about their safety. Let's consider their position. So these are kind of where we now look at racism in action. So there is racism, but honestly speaking, until we begin to value humanity as one, look beyond the skin color and look at what we can offer. Even I have to mention this: when President Barack Obama was the president of the United States, he also suffered some element of those racism. It was said he was not born in America solely because he has a link to African, So it is something that is very, very saddening at this time of this year. Even in America today, they see key Africans unnecessarily, not because they committed any crime to deserve death. We know we all see this on TV, and when they say is this or that, in fact, we have to really look at for the goodness of humanity
Yeah.
rather than looking at
Thank you.
the color.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to bring in Saheedat. You want to make any contribution to that, Or now, the other thing I want you guys to start thinking of, we said we're going to quickly just touch on that. Now, this idea of what happened with Meghan, she came out and shared her story, which me believe that is her own truth, because she's, she experienced it. She was the one that lived there. Do we believe that there is an institutional racism in Ireland here? Do we think it's within our system, or do we think that we don't have that, but if we are not careful, we might end up like that? What do we think? Who wants to take that? Do you want to come in, John? Or Saheedat?
Okay.
I know Saheedat wanted to say something.
Me, I've not lived in Ireland for long, so I'm just going to leave
let me
leave
bring
it to
in
John or Eric.
Eric to just give us a little bit insight to that.
Yeah, I'll definitely answer that question regarding institutional racism. I think it's important for us to have conversations about that in Ireland. Very briefly, I'd say in terms of the COVID-19 cases, I have not necessarily looked at each country's cases, but I've seen vaguely on social media that the African countries, a lot of them on that list, with the exception of South Africa, according to what I've heard here in this conversation, have not been bad in terms of COVID-19, especially relative to other European countries. So I think the underlying reason why the government would put those countries on the list, I just think you cannot justify it whatsoever. There doesn't seem to be any rational reason to put those African countries on the list when the COVID-19 cases in those countries are high. May there be a geopolitical reason? Is there a kind of international political fear of putting European countries on the list? Maybe. May there be an underlying tone of discrimination involved? Possibly. But nonetheless, despite the reason, I don't think, again, it can be justified, the presence of those African countries on that list. In terms of...
can we see that as a form of, we don't know where that is coming from, but could that be coming from all this what we're talking about, this institutional racism that has been happening from generation to generation, to say, okay, these people, nobody is going to talk for them anyway. Our leaders are not fighting for us. Could that be the reason? Because all we are trying to do now here is that we're trying to, like, what does this mean? What does this mean to us? Seeing it, yeah.
Yes, that's a fantastic question. I think with the institutional racism point and addressing the prior point that you brought up, I think it's very important for us to follow the evidence. And unfortunately, here in Ireland, there has not been enough studies on racism, but all the studies that have been done on racism show that racism is a huge problem. The Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission and the Economic Social Research Institute collaborated on a study on the labor market specifically, and they found that within the labor market, there is institutional racism that is contacted by Black people. Black people are more likely to face discrimination when seeking work, and they're more likely to deal with discrimination in the course of their work than their white Irish counterparts. So that is a clear case of institutional racism that exists within the workplace. And that's what the evidence suggests. So wherever the evidence points, I think that's where we must follow. And
that is where we must follow, yeah.
It shows us that racism is a problem. So we need to start tackling it.
Now, just to round up the day.
Wait, let me say my own point. Okay. Let me see. So, these countries that you mentioned, like on the island Irish list, I can't really say much about this because I don't know if they put like the basis why they chose these countries. Because if there's a reason behind it, then if there's a genuine reason behind it, then I won't say it's racism. But if there's none, then obviously it may amount to one. Then in terms of this institutional racism, as I said, I've not stayed for long, but while I was working, it reminded me of like a guy was telling me a story of how he kept applying to work and he studied this, he studied that. That could you imagine that? So he told his friend to use his name. And his friend so happened to be like white and has an English name, and also the friend used his name and helped him apply. And all of a sudden, they called his friend back. They called his friend back, but like they called, what am I saying? They called him back. They called him back. They called him back. So he picked the call and he said, "Oh, hello." They said, "Oh, it's this." Then he said, "Oh no, this is not the person that he helped me apply. That is my friend." That, oh, And all of a sudden, they kept saying, oh, they needed someone with a driving license. And obviously, they knew genuinely that you can't have a driving license. I don't have a driving license yet because I'm new, like 1 year, some months, like, well, some people might have, like, but there are very few, but I don't have. So all of a sudden, the job is out of you. And he said that when they were the criteria for the job, they never mentioned the driving license. So in that aspect, I can say that, oh yes, even by our names, you will know Saheedat. It's not an English name. You will know Abiodun, all those kind of names, like they're not English names. So you already know that this person is from Africa, this person is from this. So they can just put your file in one side and say, well, sorry.
That is an assumption.
And no, I'm just saying they can. Like, I'm just assuming. I told you they have not been here for
I
long.
know. So
I'm just
anyway, just to
assuming.
round up the evening, I'm actually enjoying it, but we have to round up the evening. Can we, just give a take home, each of us to give a take home to people out there that will have the opportunity to watch us, to say, what is your, what do we advise people? How do we react? What should we do when it comes to racism? Thank you, guys. So I'll go first to. I'll start with John, if John is happy enough to do that, because you've been quiet for a while.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting this wonderful conversation. Yes, my take home is that a great nation is dependent on the human resources, and the human resources it has no color. They have what they call intelligence, and that is what they will bring to make the country great. So, and also when you are looking for any opportunity, always be at your best, because that is what that cannot be ignored, irrespective of the fact that we are facing the challenges of our background. So let's continue to prove ourselves beyond reasonable doubt that yes, the greatness of every nation is depend on the human resource. And when you look at America's greatness today, all the nations in the world reside in that country, and they're all resident, and they're all part and parcel of the system. And that is why America is great today. So for Ireland to be a great nation among other nations, they should begin to embrace the varieties and all the background of all people that dwells in this country, and they will continue to contribute in any shape or form to make Ireland great.
Thank you very much for that. So I'll go straight to Saheedat. Do you want to give us a take home?
My take home is let's know that we're all one. Let's stand as one. Like, let's be united. Don't discriminate. Don't, like, even if, like, and call out anyone like that even alter any kind of racist comment, or like don't keep quiet. Let them know that what they are doing, because they might not know. Let them know what they are doing is wrong. And let's also be conscious of what we do, and know that no matter our skin color, white, black, like, we are, well, human beings, and let's just love each other and just be happy. And my favorite sentence, and be happy and keep smiling. So that's
Thank
all.
you for that. So I'll bring you in, Eric.
Yeah, I just want to say, and this is targeted directly to the Black Irish community, to the African diaspora here in Ireland. I could say a lot right now, but I think my message will be skewed towards them. That we can never say ever that we'll ever live in a world where hatred does not exist, or that where racial hatred does not exist. I think hatred is something that implicitly flows from human nature, unfortunately.
Just went blank.
Oh, my screen is going blank, is it?
What is?
No, it's okay. Don't worry. It's fine.
Okay,
we can see you.
Yeah, I was just saying we can't say we'll ever live in a world where racial hatred will not exist because of human nature. But one thing that we can do is not give up when we contact this hatred, and instead continue and persist to try and call it out and to try and combat it in the best possible way, to set up a better future for the following generations and the subsequent generations that will come. It is our job as people within this generation here in Ireland to try and dwindle to decrease the existence of racism as much as we possibly can to the lowest possible points so that the next generation can continue that fight. So we should focus on our task in a realistic manner. Meanwhile, we should also, as everyone has eloquently said thus far, appreciate the fact that we're all part of one human family, and those things and barriers that divide us exist to be toppled down and destroyed by us. And we must unite as best as we can to see an issue that faces one community, not as an issue of just that one community, but as a human issue that we all have a role to play in fighting.
Thank you so much for that. It's a delight to have that kind of a summary of what we should expect. So I'm going to say a very big thank you to all my guests that has come in today. Thank you, John. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Saheedat. Thank you guys so much for coming down to contribute. As an organization, our major role, this is part of our aim, is to continue raising awareness in our community, and especially our objective is achieved through raising all this awareness. One of the things that we do is that we project and we profile positive image of Africans and Caribbeans that are living here in Ireland to the world. We project this to the world in a positive way, and we highlight their contribution and the impact they're making, especially here in Ireland and in a global space that we have. So we want to say to everyone out there, look, learn to recognize and understand your own privilege as a person, because if you understand that, if you recognize your own privilege, you will be able to stand firm, be confident in who you are, and you won't stand for any form of racism around you. Validate the experience. That is, people should validate people's experience. And going to say to what Meghan said to us, it was our experience and it was our truth. Let us validate people's experience when they share those experiences and feelings to us, an individual, because they are coming from a position of truth. So it is important to validate it. Call out racism. Call out racist. Either it's a joke or is a statement. Don't give them any reason to say, oh, I was just joking. No. You don't take that kind of a joke. If it's racist, it's racist. Call it out. So discover how you complain. So if you're working in a complaint, in a workplace, in school, wherever you are, create opportunities. Create opportunities for Africans, Caribbean, ethnic minority community that is living here in Ireland. Give us opportunity to be able to flourish, and that shows that you are not being complicit. You are also playing a role in making sure that racism doesn't have a place. Sorry, I need a water for that. Doesn't have a place. Anyway, for everybody, you can see this live on 3 platforms. We're on Facebook, our Facebook page, our Facebook profile, and you can see us on YouTube Live. So we're right now on YouTube Live. You can watch it again. We're sending the record. And again, I'm going to say a big thank you to everybody that has come to join us. And I'm going to play us out now. So thank you guys for coming. You can stay there. Yeah.